What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the Lost Records Journal, Player One Visuals Lost Records focused podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Adnan. My co-host Adam is here. Adam, you here?
Ah! Oh, sorry, I was spooked. We're in spooky season.
We are in spooky. Do you know what as well?
What's up?
Spread the Arts, the first episode of StrangeCast for this month, wasn't Spread the Spooky Arts. It was just Spread the Arts. And I was so distraught.
Oh, yeah, they came out. It came out October 2nd. You're right.
Yeah. But there is another StrangeCast later this month.
Yes.
And that will be Spread the Spooky Arts.
You know what's wild, dude? It's wild to think that it's October. And it's the other wild part is that like it's not even just my area. It's not even just me thinking that like this year is going by so insanely quickly. But like you in the UK, your thing is going by quickly. My friends on the East Coast, we're all thinking that it's going by like something about 2024. It's just it's over. Like 2024, it's already done. It's done.
But it's that thing where it hits high gear towards the end of the year, and then start of January feels like it's 4 years, and it just feels like a drag period.
Yeah.
But I actually celebrate October though. This is one few months in the calendar year which I actually celebrate because I love Halloween. It's like I don't know what it is, but I love this period. But yeah, it spread the spooky arts season and just a spooky theme in general as well, which is nice with Lost Records, which just come across as very spooky. So yeah, if you are new here as well, as always, just to start off with things, please do consider dropping subscribe to the channel, turn notifications, like the video, share with your friends, help support the channel, helps keep up to date with the content we produce. We've just hit 1,300 subscribers, so thank you so much for that. And also as well, the Lost Records Journal is available on all podcast services. So available on Spotify with a video version, Apple Podcasts, we're available on everything. So do go and rate us over there, go and download your episodes because it keeps you up to date as soon as new episodes drop. Lost Records Journal now has eight 5-star ratings. So thank you so much for that. It also has 53 followers on Spotify. So thank you so much for that. If you do like us, please do rate us and do follow us because you help push our visibility to other people who can come along and find us. So yeah, Adam, we're back. Just a quick plug as well before we start. We were actually doing a double header this week, which was in terms of it was going to be StrangeCast and a Lost Records Journal. Unfortunately, that StrangeCast episode has been scrapped. We kind of spoke about in the last StrangeCast episode, saying that you get Lost Records Journal and StrangeCast this week. Unfortunately, we've had to scrap the StrangeCast episode because our guests, we had to change scheduling and stuff. It just didn't really work in things and other circumstances change that. So it's just a quick heads up to let you know that there won't be that. It'll just be Lost Records Journal this week. But there will be a StrangeCast episode coming out later this month as well. So do stay tuned for that. And that actually drops on the 16th, which will be 2 days, I believe, after the early access period for Life is Strange comes out. So we'll be generally talking, but we won't be talking about the early access because we're not buying it. So because we put our foot down very firm on very deeply unethical practices, which is what Square Enix is doing. But Adam, we're not talking about Square Enix on this podcast. We're talking about Lost Records Bloom Rage, the Don't Nod Montreal game. But I do lie as well because we will be talking about Square Enix because it's actually in our first piece as well that we're going to be running through. Oh, it's not in the first piece, actually. Apologies, it's in the second piece. We'll come back to that. So, Adam, I thought we weren't going to do the topics as we do usually. This is more of a conversational one, and we kind of use the Lost Records Journal as a very effective way of alleviating some of the pressure on StrangeCast because it is Life is Strange season. So we kind of like move a lot of the interviews and discussions from Lost Records over to this podcast, which is very helpful. And we've been going through some of the interviews. So we did actually touch on this on the StrangeCast briefly about Michel Koch talking about how long Lost Records Bloom Rage can be. You can go and check that episode out. But I thought we'd pull up one or two other portions of this, and we're actually going to cover up some other interviews. So Adam, first part here. So there's obviously video games, Sports Illustrated. Yes, there is a video game section on Sports Illustrated. We live in a wild world. And this is part of an interview which included with Michel Koch and also as well Luc Baghadoust, who are the creative director and studio executive producer, respectively. And I thought this was an interesting piece, Adam. So should we dig into this?
Yes. Dig. Like a shovel dig. In the grave.
Exactly. Just like the spooky season entails. Yes. Digging. Dig. This is a question. This is a question that we got here, which was on the gameplay side. The dialogue options I noticed were all positive. There are no negative options. They're all supportive. Could you talk a bit about giving the game Could you talk a bit about trying to give the game an optimistic tone? So Michel said, and I quote, that was from the very beginning when we were starting to work on this game. We were at the beginning of the pandemic, and we were looking at a lot of media, and all we wanted to create a game that felt slightly more positive than maybe what we did before. And I think we had this idea that we were talking about this group of friends, and we still have to have some tension. There is still some dialogue that is less positive than others, but we really wanted to make sure that we are going into full antagonistic route. So the story of this group of friends would still feel like something wholesome that would bring things out in a positive way. So some of the dialogue choices are more about how you try to interact with them. Do you go closer to one? Do you go closer to one or closer to another, rather than completely shutting out and say some bad things? Because we really wanted to bring this friendship story to the front, and they are friends. So in the end, we know they are really friends. So we don't want to break them completely. It was really important that we reflect the choices in a way that would still allow the player to find their place, but not in a negative way. End quote. So that was one portion of the quotes. I'll move myself out of the way. Sorry, it's a bit difficult to read because I don't read on wide screens as well. It's awful. Every website should have a dark website. I'm just saying this as well. Every should have a dark mode. It's like always. But I thought it was very interesting that he said that, the way that they kind of like packaged the game, if anything, because it does come across as like very vibey to start with. And we haven't really seen any kind of like temperaments between the characters yet, like, you know, a bit of hostile confrontation, anything quippy. But I was just curious how you felt about that, because it seems like a lot of things are factored into Michel's way of thinking on this.
Well, thank you, Adnan, for giving me the grounds here. And before we continue any further, if anybody is a fan of the show, and can write in the comments down below why you use light mode and why you're wrong. So please, in the comments, if you use light mode, why? Just tell us why. Dark mode all the way. So thank you to our anchor Adnan for bringing up that point.
Thank you.
Yes, but no. So I'm kind of torn with this because I'm only torn, and I'm trying to be fair. Like, I'm not trying to like be fanboy over Lost Records, even though quite literally, this is one of the only video games I'm looking forward to at all. Aside from Elder Scrolls 6, you know, which
and Double Exposure.
Yes, and Double Exposure. I'm so excited to get that game. Hooray.
He's actually excited, guys. Just to let you know, he's lying. Continue, please.
Yes. I feel like I'm only salty at Double Exposure because it made me not get Lost Records. Like, I feel like I'm really salty. What's that?
We'll come on to that in the next piece. Don't worry. We'll let you vent.
But yeah. So, anyways, what was I saying? So yeah, like I'm only being fair here. I'm not trying to be fanboy here. It is kind of wild that like they need to be positive because story. They need to be positive because of the future. Like, we can't rewrite the future scenes without them all being friends, you know. Now in game developments, that is kind of tricky because like you have to not only develop what's going to happen in the past, but then it's going to affect what happens in the future. And that's kind of like a big kind of what if scenario for the Unreal Engine. Like, if this, then that, and that's just a lot of variables. So I understand that completely. But to say like, yeah, well, they're all friends, it's just like, well, they're all friends because story. And I think we need to understand that like there's where the agency gets out of the player and into the creator of the game. So I'm only saying this to be fair. I'm not trying to say that like, oh, Michel Koch, why couldn't you put in 5 more years of work to make all the little variables? But I see it in a nice way from a story perspective. But I think the question was only asked because it's in the medium of video game, and video game gives the players agency. And if you don't give the player agency, questions come up like this. Like, why are they only positive?
Yeah, and also as well, it's as you very much alluded to, game development. It's like you're just going to create Pandora's box in terms of the size of the game and the scope of it, because we kind of talked about this in Double Exposure in terms of like the way they're marketing the game, the way it's being positioned. And it's like, we kind of alluded to the fact that I very much early said that Chloe Price won't play a big role in the game because like she'd have to be there from the very beginning. She needs to create that story. And it's the same context here with Michel in terms of like, if you're creating antagonistic relationships, you're going to be writing scripts and scripts and scripts. I've always referred to this as well. David Cage very much opened up about this with Quantic Dream on Detroit Become Human. They wrote thousands of pages of scripts, hundreds of thousands of words, because that's the one game which I've seen which has really, really delves into different routes and options. And you see it with like when you end like an episode and it's or end of episode, like you end a chapter and it shows you how many branching scenarios there are. There's still illusion of choice in that game, but it's like a more, that's a triple A game, Quantic Dream's game, that. And it's like, you see the scale and scope of that. And I think with Michel as well, and I think you're fair with saying that how you phrased it, because obviously, like, I think they've gone for that route, and it's like, I think in itself, I think from his own perspective, it's probably like game development has limited how far you can go with that, because they can't really make those relationships. If you start a fight with Autumn, how does it affect the story? How does that change things? Are you just going to make it an illusion of choice? If you start a fight with Cat, how is that going to happen? Et cetera, et cetera. So I think if anything, that is an interesting thing. I would love for them to do that, because it'd be interesting to see if you could create a dynamic, because Oxenfree does that well. Do we have relationships with the characters? Obviously, Oxenfree is an inspiration for this game that we've talked about this before. But it's like you have very, at least with the first Oxenfree, you create very polarizing relationships with certain characters. Like it still affects your deep, meaningful relationships with them, but the game still has a end goal. Like everyone still gets towards the end goal, if anything. But it's just
those are also former Telltale employees at Night School. Not to say that Michel Koch doesn't have the skill set to do it. I'm just saying that like they came from a place that tortured them to make all these choices, so they took all those lessons and made it even better.
And they got more writers on this game as well, because Desiree came in and Nina came in to help them with the American side of things. So as you pretty much said that, I think it's fair point to be like that. They are former Telltale employees. They know how to do this, and it works in their favor. So that's completely a fair thing to do. Adam, one more thing as well. Actually, I'm going to pull this up as well. It's the same interview, but if you scroll down here, it kind of like links onto the last point, which is here about just the game in general, because obviously we're talking about the tone here. It's not really got loads of negatives, but then there is a question which is like, what's the main tension of the game? What's the big jeopardy? So I'll just read it out here as well. It's from Michel and Luc as well. So Michel says here, the story is about four girls coming back together after not having seen each other for 27 years because of a promise that they made that they wouldn't stop talking to each other. So in the gameplay, you're playing as a little girl, you're in the bar and you're talking around this box, and you're looking at the box, and you're kind of rebuilding your memories from the summer where you all met and became close friends. It's really about rebuilding the story to get up to the end of the summer where something happened and they have to promise to never see each other again. So it's a build up to what's in the box. What did they promise, and why did they stop being friends? Question mark. I don't know why I said question mark. End quote. Luc said,
"Why did they stop being friends?" Huh?
A little plot twist there. So Luc said here as well, basically, it's exciting to have these two different eras. You're in the 90s and mid 2020s, and you're progressing in the present, in the recollection of what happened, and in the past at the same time. So it's really cool. It's not like one after the other. And then Michel said, and I quote, "I'm just coming back to the previous question because I was thinking the game is called Bloom and Rage. The first tape is Bloom and the second tape is Rage. And while we want the four girls to be positive, like if there is a very tight-knit group of friends, then we have, of course, outside adversity. So in the part we played, it's taking place only with the girls. That's why we are building relationships and we are having a very positive attitude. But you will have some tension and some drama and some conflict with the other characters, but we won't talk too much about it for now." So yeah, I think that gives a bit more extra layers to how they're implying it, because obviously that dynamic starts in the main timeline, which is when they're in the 95 timeline. But I do find this interesting, this part, the first part where he's talking about, you're in that bar, what's in the box. It kind of like links to you here as well, that you rebuild memories through the box. And then why did they stop seeing each other? So it kind of confirms that they promised not to see each other and they stopped being friends. So I think that there's the extra layer of this dynamic where it's like, I think that's where the relationships dictate themselves. I did get it right though in terms of the box though, because I did say it could be a Walking Dead 400 Days reference, where it's like where she goes up to the board and she pulls off a story, and it's like you go and play for it. It feels like the box will access you things certain memories that you go back to, which I'm kind of keen for.
Or almost like Unravel.
Unravel.
Yeah.
So I think what I got from that, I was like, okay, because it makes sense. I think like they are trying to create that group dynamic. It's like very stand by me when you're like as a young kids, and then when you're in later life, it's almost showing you that, because that's something we never actually saw in Stand By Me in the Stephen King book and film. It's like it never shows you what happens to them when they become adults. It kind of like gives you a monologue, but not really a full explanation of what happens. But we're seeing the extra here, so I'm excited for it. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah.
And yeah, generally speaking, I'm looking forward to wondering why they don't become friends anymore, because that gives you an interesting dynamic.
Yeah, it could be during the election. Some people
the Velvet Cove.
The Velvet Cove. Yeah. No, I'm not saying that like it's only gonna be positive, and Michel Koch can only write things that are positive. I mean, we saw evidence from Life is Strange and Life is Strange 2 that like he can take a positive trip to something that's a lot more in depth and can land the plane really well. So I don't know. I have faith in Michel Koch. I have faith in that entire team. I was just trying to play devil's advocate for Toxic Gamer. So,
well, to be honest, if it wasn't you, it would have been me, because I'm surprised I didn't bring up that tone, because I'm always I'm very much moody among many other things. So it's like, it's a good thing to explore, though. I mean, it's a fair question to be asked. I think it was a good part of the interview, if anything, out of a lot of it. I thought it was very interesting. So, Adam, should we kick into our next piece of news?
Yes. Let's do it.
Okay, so again, interview season, we are here. These are continuing on from Gamescom, and this is at Games Industry Biz. As I've said before, this is one of my favorite websites I do read. If you do want to follow in my footsteps, I don't know who does, but like, if you do want to follow in my footsteps, I read this website a lot because I find it very interesting from business perspectives to features. So we're going to go down here. Sophie McAvoy has spoken to Don't Nod team. They spoke to, again, Michel, Luc, and then also Cathy Vincelli at Gamescom as well. Cathy is the producer on this, and who is called Catherine as well, Adam, not Cathy. My life is getting exploded here. It's actually Catherine Vincelli, but you live and learn every day. So actually the first piece was the interesting, and this is why I stopped Adam very early on the podcast episode. And it's here, which is initially set to launch in late 2024. Don't Nod pushed the release of the new IP to early 2025 to avoid the next installment of Life is Strange Double Exposure, now developed by Deck 9. So Luc Baghadoust, the studio executive producer, said, and I quote, "We talked about it and thought the best solution was to give Lost Records more space. We know that a big part of the audience knows the Life is Strange name, but they might not know the original team of the first two games is creating a new game, and there needs to be room for two," end quote. Luc says that overall it was a quote unquote good outcome, end quote, for them. So Luc says, and I quote, "On our end, it gives us more time to polish the content to make sure it's great when it's released. Being too close to each other, people might not have the budget to buy the two games, so giving us more space was the best solution," end quote. So I'm going to stop after that part, if anything, because I think this is more than worthwhile discussion. This hits your point, which you said that it gives them more time to make the game, because I think you said that in the last StrangeCast episode. You said that the game can keep getting improved because they're doing VO work and stuff like that. This also reaffirms my belief where people like, it's so nice that they're respecting each other and like they're moving things out of like ways. And it's like, no, their hand was forced. It's like, I really got that really strange narrative where it's like, they would have done it respectfully anyway. They are respectful to each other, like Deck 9, Life is Strange, Deck 9, Don't Nod, Square Enix. But it was like that kind of like hoo-ha. It's like, oh, they're moving out and being respectful towards each other. It's like, no, Lost Records' hand was moved at this point, and same with Don't Nod's hand was moved very much by.
That's the thing. It's Don't Nod. This isn't like when people say that games move and do this and a game's release date, when you have shareholders, it's not like a little casual on your calendar, like, oh, I'll just move this day so I can hang out with this friend. There are shareholders. Adnan, you are a shareholder in Don't Nod. So like there's a lot of like there is no niceties to this. This is only a business thing. If it was Michel Koch's or Luc's call, maybe it would have been flip on the calendar. But we have to understand too that this is a business. Oscar Goldberg is also in the room with them too. I don't know, man. I just have to get that off my chest. I hate it, dude. Oh my god, dude. I hate it when I hear these people like talk about how like again going to a different game. So February 14th, 2 games are coming out the same day: Avowed and Assassin's Creed Shadows. And yeah, I know I'm on Team Avowed. By the way, I'm all about Avowed.
Really? No one would have guessed that.
Yeah, no, because again, we talked about this off podcast that Assassin's Creed Shadows, if it happened instead of Origins, if instead of Origins coming out, it was a Japanese Assassin's Creed, it would have been like hands down best game ever. But that's why I'm Team Avowed. Anyways, but a lot of people are saying like, oh, but like Microsoft, to give them room, they should move Avowed to January. Oh, it's just so casual. Just release it whatever you want. And I'm like, it doesn't work like that, man. It doesn't.
No.
It's a business with shareholders and CEOs and puppies. I don't know.
Think about Marin though as well. When we talk about Marin doing the senior branding and like how much he must have already prepared for like an October, November release this year. And then it's like, oh yeah, they respectfully moved all his work out of the way so he could do other stuff with it. It's like he's probably been planning that months in advance. Even the bigger, wider Don't Nod team as well, their Paris-based division has probably been planning content rolling out phase for like months. So it's like it's not just an easy solution of we'll move things quite easily. And when you keep mentioning shareholders and stakeholders, it's the same with Ubisoft. Ubisoft was just in the news yesterday about Tencent and Ubisoft and the Gilmore family taking it private because they might be like thinking about the entire market cap of Ubisoft has been destroyed in that one swift go this year. And it's like now they're looking at options to take it private to move it off the stock market. Don't Nod can't do that. Actually, funny you say that as well. Funny I was talking about as well. I did see Don't Nod spike a little bit in terms of its stock value. It went up during that news. So when the news broke about Ubisoft, it actually jumped. I got a notification on Trading 212. It's like Don't Nod has jumped 10% in value. And it's like it's not directly related to that, but I'm saying amid the news, because it's like it does show you that it does affect in terms of that's a French publisher, Ubisoft, a French publisher and developer. Don't Nod is a French developer and publisher. So it's like that kind of like little knock-on effect in terms of the realms of the gaming industry. But as you said,
I will also say this, like not just, stockholders and all this stuff, to get people's perspective. And I love how I have 2 points, like 2 examples here. I love how you brought up Marin and the social media feed, right? Like this is like the icons of saying what needs to be promoted. 2 points to get people's perspective. If you work in any business, tell a business to change a logo. Just change your logo. And everybody's like, oh, you'll just change your logo and everything will be just seamless. You have to change not just your logo. You have to change your building's logo. You have to change your parchment. You have to throw away any other parchment that had the old logo and reorder new logos. You have to give people new business cards. You have to there's a lot. It's not just change a logo. It's a lot of things. But to get even more in perspective, change the date of your wedding. Go ahead. I dare you. Change the date of your wedding, dude. Because I did that. We moved our wedding. It's just like, when I first got the only time I got married. When I got married, we were originally going to get married in December, and like things weren't working out with jobs and all that, so we moved it to July. Just chaos, absolute chaos, because you have to change the venue, you have to change your photographer, you have to change like tell your photographer we're moving to this day. You have to tell your entire family. So if like they can turn up, it's like we had gifts with the original wedding date engraved on it. It was a wedding gift and it was already engraved. So again, I want to put that in people's minds that this isn't just a slight change. This isn't like a little friendly thing of just like, oh, we'll give them room. We'll give them room. On the outside, it is they will give them room. But I'm getting kind of sick of people like saying this was just a friendly little like, oh yeah, no, Life is Strange, you do your thing. It is chaos within the entire studio. So I just want to put that in people's minds.
Chaos with a capital C.
Sorry,
it reminds me of that.
I just needed to get off my chest, man. I'm sick of hearing it.
No, you're right though, because it's like you've watched Family Guy Star Wars spoofs, haven't you? Just checking.
How uncultured do you think I am?
Always got to check. Always got to check.
Yeah.
Do you know that scene where when Peter Griffin is Han Solo and he snaps at the stormtroopers and makes them dig their own graves? And he's like, I've had enough up here. He's like, start shoveling.
That's my vibe right now.
That's representative of this situation where it's like, I've had enough of people saying it's, complimentary. Oh, look at the lovely Don't Nod team moving outside the holiday season where they could get more sales, more stuff. But no, we'll just move the game. Forget the stockholders. Forget about the shareholders. Oscar Gilbert doesn't care about it. Don't worry. We'll move everything just for you. That's what it's like. And it's like,
and we were talking about this last time we were discussing like this move. They moved in a much more chaotic release date. So
you did.
We talked about
this was all on you. You pointed this out to me actually in terms of the season they've moved into. Are you going back onto that website?
So the games are releasing in February.
Drop on screen share.
Oh,
I'll put it on for the viewers as well, and we'll run you through if you are a listener as well. Because Adam showed me this, and it kind of like was even more eyebrow raising for me. Yeah.
So we have Mint Mobile down here. We have the good old that guy.
Lovely.
Yeah. But yeah, starting off, we have Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, which a lot of people might say like, oh, that's not too much, but that's one audience member. Just they're linked to Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. We have Civ 7, Civilization 7 coming out the same day as Kingdom Come Deliverance. Good luck, Civ 7. We have Assassin's Creed Shadows coming out on the same day as Avowed. We have Like a Dragon, Pirate Yakuza in Hawaii. And then we have Monster Hunter Wilds. And in smack dab, oh, wait, it's saying Avowed is February 18th. Did they move the dates?
Maybe they've messed it up. Or I might have changed it.
Yeah, I'll have to look that up later. That's
annoying that's on the same day. Oh, God.
Oh, so, okay. So maybe they moved the dates and Game Rant updated it, or I'll have to look it up later. But now Avowed is coming out on the same day as Lost Records, Bloom and Rage. So,
by the way,
right? Yeah.
Adam, as well, in what you're saying as well, look at the difference there. All those titles are hyperlinked. Lost Records, Bloom and Rage isn't, which already tells you that they put more as a website into actual referencing those games, because if you click on it, it'll take them to their pages, and it means they cover the game a lot more. But with Lost Records, it doesn't, and that's already alarming. And then, as Adam will probably explain, I imagine he'll go into now as well, Lost Records, Bloom and Rage is like, for me and Adam, we're excited for that. That's a game we're going to buy there. But what they want is people who are buying the other games to buy their game. That's the thing with it. It's not about us that they're worried about. It's about other people, because it's outside of the Life is Strange fan base. You want other people to buy this game.
That's the point we were discussing before, that like all of these games, what they have in out of common, I should say, and out of common, they reach a different audience member. So we have Kingdom Come Deliverance is the fantasy people. It's Civ 7 is the strategy people. Assassin's Creed Shadows is the plebs. We have Avowed, who are the kings of the universe, which is me. We have Like a Dragon, Yakuza, which is for the weirdos like you. We have Monster Hunter Wilds, which is for, but in all like seriousness, for weirdos like me. But like, in all seriousness, like all of these games have out of common, they reach a different market, and then Lost Records reaches our market, people like us who want a single player, I don't want to say a walking sim. Yeah, story driven, narrative driven game. We want that. Whereas all these other games are reaching a different kind of audience member. We have an RPG, we have a fantasy, we have a strategy game, sim strategy game. We have whatever Assassin's Creed is now. Yakuza, we have Monster Hunter Wilds, which is a explore and collect kind of game. And then you have Lost Records. Yeah. So it's kind of worrying that like hold on, let me just stop sharing. But like it all goes into they didn't just move their date away from Life is Strange. They moved the date into a much more chaotic time frame, and it's just like it's worrying, man. Like it's kind of like making me nervous, man.
Which is
and
fair.
Go for it.
No, I was going to say which is fair what you're saying, because it does make you worried about it. Because it's like I always feel like it's like with Luc, Michel, and anyone from Don't Nod Montreal, it's like they're not worried about like people like us or about other Life is Strange fans. Not that they're taking granted for it. And then same with people like
Sorry. I am looking at now, and on the initial release date, Avowed is coming out February 18th, which is insane. It's coming out
the same day as Lost Records.
Oh my god! Wait. Go for it. Sorry.
The only thing that they can hope for as well is that, for example, if it doesn't sell at first, that the month schedule apart brings more eyes to it. So obviously there's a 30-day gap between it. You kind of have to hope then at that point when it comes out in March 18th that people will be more excited for it and people who haven't played it will pick up Lost Records, Bloom Rage. But there's like certain caveats, man. It's like you don't have holiday sales anymore. It's the start of the year. Do people spend that much more money on games? As me and Adam have talked about before, it's a stacked period of games. Like it's stacked 2025. It's like now getting back up to full momentum with like big dog hitters that are coming back out in terms of games that are being released. And in itself, Adam, as well, this might also explain why Square Enix have dropped Life is Strange now in terms of dropping it in this October, November, December period because they don't want to put it out in January next year on the 10-year anniversary because it's just that busy. And they're like, yeah, you know what? We'll just jump in the holiday season.
So I'm also saying that like it's always been February 18th and I was just stupid, perhaps. Ooh. Yeah, I was perhaps stupid. But again, I was listening to everything you were saying. And yeah, no, that's even more devastating that a game like Avowed is coming out the same day as... Yeah, like they're moving into much more chaotic. Like it's nerve-wracking.
And you know what as well? I think you said me one of the best lines when we talk about in general about your Michel line about the company putting a lot of its focus on it, which I'll give you if you want to talk about. I thought it was a very good quip where you said about the company putting a lot of focus on.
So thank you for giving me the credit where I deserve. Nobody follows me on Twitter and nobody follows me on Instagram, but I'm glad that I have some credit on this show, even though I put in like the minimum amount of work into this. Yeah, no, like we were talking about like off camera that follow me on Twitter, just give me some validity. Unless you want to be bullied. But yeah, where Michel Koch is in the same position as he was in 2015, which is insanely nerve-wracking because in 2014, Don't Nod was on the face of collapse after Remember Me was failing the studio, and the studio was kind of faltering at that point. And they counted on Michel Koch's project to like kind of bring them out of the bring them from the ashes, the phoenix rising. And of course, Life is Strange brought Don't Nod out of the ashes, and it is the company that it is because of what Michel Koch did. And now Michel Koch is in the exact same position, which is insane. And it's in a different gaming market. It's in a different gaming climate. You know, it's in a different, like, what gamers expect out of the game. Everything. But he's making the same kind of game. And that's a little nervous. And when I say he's in the exact same position, Don't Nod right now has lost money. They have paused 2 projects because Banishers and Jusant. I was going to say Harmony, but I don't think they even thought Harmony would make them any money. Even though I loved Harmony. It's
very niche.
It is very niche. But these 2 games didn't make them as much money as they thought they did. They paused 2 projects, and now they're putting all their marbles onto Lost Records. Michel Koch is in the exact same position, but in a different gaming climate. And that, I cannot imagine being
without a AAA publisher behind it this time.
Without a AAA publisher, you are correct. There is no Square Enix involved. It is just Don't Nod. That's insane, dude. That is, I would not want to be Michel Koch right now. It's
the exploitation because like even when you said it as well, like Don't Nod is a very sticky position in 2014, 15. Like it's always that myth where it says that it's on the like he's going to go bankrupt and it's going to think they had to reshape the studio. It was like it's a long process. You want to read about it, but they shifted it, but they weren't in financially strong position by any stretch of the imagination. Life is Strange happens, big success story from it. It wasn't even planned to be a success story. It just happened over, with a momentum train of like social media hype, playthroughs, YouTubers and stuff. But now, as Adam has said as well, the climate is so different. Everything has changed. all those like caveats that helped Life is Strange doesn't mean it's going to help Lost Records, because we were talking about it off podcast another day where I was saying to Adam as well, there's an accolades trailer out at the minute for like Lost Records, and it shows like people's previews. And I saw someone on Reddit say it's a bit strange that they're doing this for a preview thing, but it's like, no, the marketing has tenfold has exponentially grown on this game, because they need this now after what's happened with their first year results. Don't Nod, and it's like they're going to want people to see the previews, because again, it's that cut through messaging. Luke just says it in that interview as well when we just read it. It's like, actually, people don't know that there's a Life is Strange studio making this kind of game. Like it's so hard. People are now seeing Jusant because the news is out that Jusant didn't sell well, and people are like, I didn't even know that existed. It's like,
which is that's insane. That's insane.
Yeah, but there's so many games though, isn't there, Adam? It's like that's the thing. Jusant is one game in a year release of like 300-400 games, and you kind of sit there thinking like, not everyone's going to be tuned in, plugged into things. Some people just aren't vestedly interested in that. Don't Nod, for example. I'd say this podcast, obviously, and the other podcasts specialize in Deck 9 Don't Nod stuff. They don't get that much attraction in mainstream public. Like, they'll get a couple of pieces here and there, news references, etc. But imagine that as well. For example, that games industry bit, Sophie, is it Sophie? Was she called Sophie? Or is it Beth? Sophie McAvoy. Like, think about her schedule of like work she's writing on, and this interview that she's done with Cathy, Luke, and Michel is from Gamescom. Gamescom was in August. That interview is published in October 3rd. So she's basically done the interview, but she's probably had like a ton of inventory and stuff, and it means that Lost Records isn't the priority for publication. Like this is what happens with outlets. They'll interview someone, they'll keep the interview for ages, then they'll publish it when they've got time to write it up. It's a priority stacking order, if anything. So there's a lot to be said with that. And it's that Life is Strange release did have a knock-on effect of it. It massively had a knock-on effect of it. And you know, fingers crossed, it can kind of like change. You know, the studio can bounce back in some way, shape, or form. And one last bit as well here, because there is another Life is Strange part to this interview, and then we'll move on to our last interview and we'll run through that. So it was here as well. So it said, despite being Don't Nod Montreal's first IP outside of the Life is Strange franchise, the series heavily influenced Lost Records, adapting and evolving the studio's penchant.
Oh,
Help me, studios penchant. So
penchant. Studios penchant. Penchant?
What does that mean?
Penchant? I don't know.
A strong or habitual liking for something or tendency to do something. You live and learn.
I never heard that one.
You live and learn for narrative-driven games. So Michel said, and I quote, "We've been working on these kind of games for over a decade now. We love storytelling and making interactive narratives that players can tell their own stories through in a way." End quote. The team learned a significant lesson developing Life is Strange, quote unquote, characters are key, end quote. And then Michel said here, and I quote, that's something we saw in each Life is Strange episode, that the characters are at the center of everything. Players will always remember good characters. We really wanted to focus on that, end quote. So yeah, that was the quote from there. Actually, I'll run through the other quote. So as there as well, there's Jean-Luc, Luke, Michel, and Cathy as well at Gamescom. They were all at Gamescom. Michel said here, and I quote, "Characters are the most important things in our games. We like to say if we don't have good characters, no matter how good the story may be, it won't work. You need good characters to make players engaged with the story," end quote. So I'm going to leave that. There are more details, but maybe we'll come back to that another time. But yeah, I think he's right, though. It's like, you know, that is it. Is characters are keys. It's a story-driven game. So yeah, that's fair with what Michel's saying in terms of having good characters, good keys. Obviously, the Life is Strange DNA that he probably thinks as well is infused in this game in terms of the characters and the stories writing. And to be fair as well, Adam, as well, and this is not hating on Double Exposure or Life is Strange, it's the same principle applies, for example, with what Deck 9 is doing with Max, for example, because if Max isn't written well, if she doesn't resonate with people will be turned off from that, and it'll affect their game as well. And it's like, it's not in the sense that, you know, that's not me showing any kind of like, you know, swipes at him, just saying, in these kind of games, in these kind of climates, you need good characters, good stories. Life is Strange is an established IP, so it would have a bit more of a benefit in terms of they did have like a knock-on effect, for example, of Max not being good. They could carry the series on in a different direction. But with Lost Records, it's brand new IP, brand new slate, first impressions being a lot, and they're really going to have to rely on that. You could see with, for example, why the characters, each of the 4 girls, for example, it shows as well, and actually in all the content we've seen so far, we've not been introduced to any other major character barring Swan, Nora, Autumn, and Kat. We've heard Swan's mom in the alpha footage and stuff, But no other character has taken any central role in this. They've not shown any other character in any other trailer, like major character, anyone who stands out, because they want you to see the 4 girls and be like, oh, I resonate with them 4, and they're really cool. And it's like, that one has a vibe, and that one has a vibe, and that one's interesting, and that one's like that. They've done it on purpose, and it shows very clearly. It's very smart marketing, because it's like, he's saying, I need these 4 characters to succeed because these are the crux of the game. Whoever comes around it, great, you're just an addition to it. But it's like, the one thing I've kind of like reflected on the last couple of trailers we've seen no other major characters, barring Swan's mom, when she talks like briefly, just voice. Don't see her, just hear her voice. But it's always Nora, Kat, Swan, Autumn. And it's like, they want you just to see them 4 characters for the time being, because that's the big exposition for the time being. Imagine you'll meet other characters, but in the sense of like, to kind of combine on Michel's point, it's just to kind of get people interested and glued in with them.
No, yeah, it is, like you said, it is smart in the way of just focus on this, whereas other games focus on too many characters all at once and just say like, look, this is what we're offering here. But yeah, I really hope people keep their eyes on this, and I hope people that want they complain that there's no more single player games. Play Lost Records. There it is. It's right there. But we'll see. It's all kind of like a we'll see. I'm kind of stressed that I have to play Avowed, like later. I've been looking forward to Avowed for a while, but yeah, the fact that it's coming on the same day, man, I'm just
all in moving season as well.
Yeah, I will be moving a month and a half after that, so that'll be fun. It's a fun time to be Adam.
Yeah, it's a shame because it's like you can't even take any of them on the Switch either. So you can like take up the Move whilst playing. It's both like hand grounded console games. Yeah,
I'm not happy.
Well, fingers crossed you make it through both of them when they come out. That's the main thing. Adam, last piece of interview. Should we go into this?
Yeah, let's do it.
So we're going to take 2 pieces from this. We actually used this in the last episode of StrangeCast or Lost Records Journal. I can't remember which one it was. So we're not ignore the last part because we've actually talked about it in another episode. But instead here, we're going to 2 quotes, which we'll use in separate sections. And we'll just start with the first one, which is, this is from WCCF Tech. And they asked Cathy Vincelli, who is the producer on Lost Records Bloom Rage. They said, you mentioned collectibles. How many of them are in the game? And Cathy responded saying, I can't give you an exact number, but there will be quite a bit. As for rewards, they will offer some insight into Swan, as sometimes you will unlock a voiceover from Swan narrating how she filmed a certain object. The collectibles are also linked to trophies and achievements, but we feel the additional insight on Swan will be a very good reward, even for those who aren't collecting trophies and achievements, end quote. I thought that was a really interesting perspective, that of being like, actually, because I'm a big trophy lover enthusiast, and these games like collect them for easy parts. But I find it quite interesting that there's this kind of like incentive that Swan is also a reward with a quippy maybe line or something, because so far Swan's dialogue has been outstanding, and so has the voice acting as well from Olivia Lepore. She's got this very like, I don't know what it's like. Do you know her adult voice at least as well? If anything, it's like spine tingling, and then also as well, just as Swan in general, the young Swan, it's like she's got quite like a little, quippy voice as well, which I love as well. But I do find it interesting that how they're going to do collectibles, because obviously we've seen this collectibles, Adam, for like a long time. Like in terms of these games, there's been a staple formatting of a formula of it. Life is Strange 1 and 2 felt limited in terms of collectibles we were getting. It was like a journal entry or a photograph. It was very scripted. So I'm kind of keen with like the exploration we're getting with the camera and all the things we record, with the birds we can record and the other things I'm looking forward to unlocking. I'm vibing off that. I thought it was very interesting in perspective to give on the collectibles.
Yeah, no, it's it's a new way we can like implement collectibles. Sorry, it's a new way we can implement them. It's a new way to award the players, because I'm not a trophy hunter. I'm not an achievement hunter any sort of the way. But if there's like in-game like rewards, even if it's just like a nice little quip, bro, I'm actually for it. I'm actually way for it. Except for Assassin's Creed with the feathers, and you just get like this little axe, and I'm like, I'm not about that. I'm not. I collected the feathers once in Assassin's Creed 2 to get the axe, and then
oh god,
yeah, I remember in Assassin's Creed 2,
process.
100 feathers, and I'm like, no, I'm not doing that. And then like,
do you know what though? Actually, with that, at least you got a map to find them. On the first Assassin's Creed game, if you remember the Templar flags and stuff, there was none. You had to get a collectibles guide up. Like you had to like plant it. They never put anything in there that marked them for you.
Yep. Yeah. No. Yeah. The whole feathers. At least you had the map, like you said. But the first Assassin's Creed with the Templar flags, no, I never once. But if it's like a nice little simple kind of like going out and collect it, man, I'm here for it, man. I'm absolutely here for it. I don't know. It was nice. I liked it. Yeah. I'm not really a collectibles person either. Like I'm not really a collector's guy, which is weird considering who I am. But you know.
Well, it depends on how much you're going to give in terms because like if it's that kind of thing, like if you pick up one collectible, they're all the same collectible. It's just like a bit different in terms of skinned. And I think like what I've seen so far in terms of the camcorder and how they're doing things, it feels a little bit more. You really want to mess with this thing because it'll unlock different things. And I'm all for example, Swan just give me a quip if I pick something up because it's actually
definitely.
It does feel quite rewarding actually. Same with like Max when she picked up something up and she'll say something in her Max-esque way. It was like it felt quite thingy. Same with again, there's that Last of Us reference in Life is Strange 2 where Daniel makes the clicker noise, and it's like that's really cool reference. It's like I'm all for that. So if someone does that something like that with she's like a T-Rex roar, I'm all happy for that. So yeah, I thought it was very interesting. And Adam, another one here as well, which is from none of them, Mr. Luc Baghadoust as well, and we're going to pull him up here, which was it's Lost Records is being released as two separate episodes, tapes. And the gap between them is rather short. Why? And Luke said here, we know there are a lot of people who don't like episodic games, but we like the distribution model because we like seeing players discuss and theorize about an episode while we wait for the other release. The small gap between the two episodes allows the sort of online discussion without alienating those who would prefer playing to complete the experience. I think the gap between the two episodes also hits that sweet spot, which I think is very accurate. And Adam, actually, one more thing as well. I'm going to pull this up because I actually thought I read through this whilst we were talking, and this is actually really interesting. I can't overlook it now. So as you can see here, it says, as you mentioned, Lost Records Bloom Rage features multiple timelines. How do they alternate? Are there gameplay differences between them? And it gives us a bit more detail in terms of how the story will fall, because the timelines alternate as the storytelling dictates. At the beginning of the game, you play a Swan in the present, a 45-year-old woman who needs to head to the bar where the reunion with her friends takes place. As you can see there, reunion with friends takes place. As she meets these women she has forgotten, she starts reconnecting with them. And as this happens, there will be dialogue options that will make the player jump to other timelines. As such, there's really no systematic way to jump from one timeline to another. It's driven by discussion between these friends who are reconnecting after having forgotten about each other for the past 23 years. It's a realistic way of doing something like this, like going someplace with a friend you haven't seen for a long time and remembering things that were forgotten. As for gameplay differences, the present timeline is played in first-person view, while the past is played in third person. In the present, Swan is coming back as a single individual who is no longer part of the group, and we wanted to reflect this in the difference of that. So, end quote, we'll put that there. I thought that was very interesting because, funnily enough, I was saying to Adam as well before I recorded this as well, I actually reconnected with some friends last night and I went for a couple of drinks. I hadn't seen them for 5 years. It felt very Lost Records Bloom and Rage, when I think about it.
Was there a box?
No, there was not a box yet. So no, thankfully, no one turned up with a box, which is always a good sign for our safety there. But it does make me think though, because obviously there it does explain that, for example, the game will kick off as Swan. You start as her in the older form. She starts sitting there as an older version. But I also had a bit of a theory then, just thinking about it, because it says that the friends will be there, there's a reunion, etc. I have a funny feeling that, for example, do you know how Autumn is positioned in the game and she's sitting in front of you? I feel like she'll swap out with another character. So it'll swap out with one of the other girls at a certain point. So you're not always speaking to Autumn. It'll be like she might move in a different place, and then the person that you're going to speak to, either Nora or Kat, will take her place, and you start speaking with her. And then, for example, that discussion leads into that point in memory. So it's like it unlocks another moment for you. I feel like maybe it is like almost like a free section scripted segment where it's like a certain portion with Autumn, then she moves out the way, for example, then Nora turns up or Kat turns up, maybe Autumn sits next to you whilst Kat is sitting in front of you, etc., etc., and then we eventually get to reveal of what is in the box. But I'm just curious what you think there, because I think Michel gave a lot of deep exploration there in terms of things, and obviously we've spoken about Luke's quote there as well. I think that makes very good sense in the marketing perspective, because they're hoping for that word of mouth buzz with Lost Records.
Yeah, I mean, we've lost that in episodic games. We've lost like the whole cooler talk. We've lost that in a way of just like, again, we're in a different climate now, not just like with the gaming, but just different people, sociable climate. Like we are not in the same way. Like Zoom just like zoomed into our lives in 2020. And now I'm not trying to say this in like such a bad light. I'm just trying to say here's where we are as human beings. Curbside pickup is a thing. Like, do not even interact with me. Don't even go into the place. Just curbside. I'm not trying to say bad or good. I'm just trying to say this is where we are. Like online, like the whole reason why we're doing this podcast, like the way it is because like these video calls have gotten much more regular now. Skype was always a thing, but now it's become much more mainstream now.
Yeah.
Not always a thing, you know what I mean. But what I'm trying to allude to is that the whole cooler talk, the whole talking to your friends and saying like, oh, what do you think's going to happen next? What do you think's here? What do you think's there? The whole forum, culture is kind of going on the wayside, unfortunately. And I enjoy that he's just giving this gap. He's like he's saying in the way of like, hey, we know people don't like episodic games, but we're just doing a month gap so you have time to theorize and not be spoiled. That's why I hate, the whole dynamic of Netflix and Max, and like you have to binge the whole series, and then the series comes out, like the season comes out, and you go on online and people have just binged it overnight, and then spoilers are like, did you watch the whole thing? Did you watch it? And just like, oh my God, dude, relax, dude. Just recently that 90s show on Netflix has been canceled because people didn't watch it right away. It didn't. The reason why that 90s show was canceled on Netflix just recently is because the second part of season 2 didn't reach top 10 in Netflix. Did not reach top 10. So therefore, boom. Again, I'm kind of going scatterbrain here, but I do enjoy that they are taking that risk. I do enjoy that they are going against the grain of where culture is going and trying to go back into, hey, talk to each other, theorize, get excited about the second part, not just binge it in a night and then just be done with it. Have that month gap just to enjoy not knowing, will this show have a lot of theories? Yes, of course we're going to be like talking about it, but I'm very much enjoying that. Like he's building up a mystery. Michel Koch is, especially his quote of there's this mystery of who goes and who comes in. We don't know, but instead of binging it and just spoiling it, we got time.
Yeah, you're right, because it makes me feel sad, because even with like when we did True Colors review on StrangeCast years ago, it's like I wish we would have done it episode by episode and we were getting excited and buzzed for it. It's like and it's like that's like a lost thing with it. And if it's like I love the fact that we can probably review the first part and then we'll review the second part and have a discussion about it and then see how things flow. That's always a nice thing. It just feels such a lost part of like video game like legacy of like episodic gaming. It did become oversaturated at one point, but there was like a big vibe of like you could play per episode, go on forums, have a chat, get people excited, get other people who never played it excited, etc. And I'm like, I do kind of miss that. So I get why Luke and Michel and why Luke's explained the way he has, because it feels like that was always going to be a kind of like formula for Don't Nod, especially this team as well, to make games where it's like a part structured game. I think that was good with that. And it's a shame as well because the Expanse did it. Do you remember the Expanse did it from Deck 9? It was actually quite fun, like coming back to it after like, X period and like playing it. And it's like, I wish they might have even done that with like Double Exposure, where they locked the entire game behind like the wall. And then it's like every week a new chapter unlocks. That would have been actually interesting to kind of like try it, because if you buy it full release and you come back every week and play it, who knows? But anyway, it's like, yeah, that's interesting. And then also as well, yeah, with Michel teasing the kind of like scenarios, it feels like that's going to be quite an interesting part of like seeing the way the story unfolds in terms of how you see things in the past and how they play out in terms of the characters that come back in the present, who you talk to, how those kind of things unfold. I'm very excited to see like what kind of storytelling they're going to tell, because it feels fresh, it feels original, it feels something that I can sink my teeth into and have a lot of time with as well. So yeah, all generally speaking, I'm excited for how he's presenting that picture in terms of how the game plays out. And obviously it does make sense when you're starting with Swan turning up at that, at that place. Autumn is there and you kind of talk, and yeah, I'm interested to see if the other characters turn up or how they turn up and what they turn up as. But yeah, I think we'll wrap up here. But Adam, before we go as well, one question as well, because on feedback on the last episode, there were a lot of people who put Cat at the top of that list in the 4-character order.
Oh yes, yeah.
A lot of people, which was, I was like, oh, that's such quite like almost a universal thing we saw very early on from a couple of people. But my other question is going to be, what's in the box? What do you think's in the box now?
Taco Bell's Supreme Wrap Crunch.
I don't know if they have that in Velvet Cove.
Oh, they do. What are you talking about? Maybe not in England. In Michigan, yeah.
Yeah, but Velvet Cove is different from Michigan. Why would they have a taco? Right, so let's get this idea.
How's that different from Michigan? It's in Michigan.
Let's get this straight. This 45-year-old Swan among her other friends have turned up because a mystery package was sent in a box, wrapped up, and a taco
wrapped up in a Taco Wrap Supreme. Yes.
So, but how long does a Taco Wrap Supreme last in a box for?
I mean, it's gonna last. It's just a matter of, can you eat it? Like, it'll be there. Like, it'll be there physically, but can you eat it is the question.
I think you're wrong, because I think
it doesn't disintegrate. It's not a liquid. It doesn't evaporate. It just kind of, gets a little moldy.
My theory is that the hole has the Taco Bell in it, that they're staring into.
Sure.
All the radiation. That's where that's come from.
I think the hole is a representation of capitalism. It's just a hole.
That's pretty deep for me, Charles Hickey. Oh dear. What do you think's in the box then? So far, early prediction. It's not a Taco Bell.
It's not a Taco Bell? Is it a Burger King Whopper?
Yep. He does this. My theory is that it's a camera so far.
A camera?
The camera.
Okay. The camera.
Yeah.
The camera that filmed the very first Taco Bell Crunchwrap Supreme.
Yes, that's what Swan Holloway is doing. That's why she starts freaking out in the alpha footage. She's like, I didn't record this. You go through the forest and you find a Taco Bell Supreme at the end of it, and she records it. But I think we'll leave it there, because I think that's the best way of doing this. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this episode. Let us know your thoughts in the comments. Let us know what you think in the box. Is it a Taco Bell? Is it not? Is it Adam's cap? Is he going to come up capless in the next episode? Who knows?
Cap.
No cap. But yeah, let us know your thoughts in the comments. It'll be interesting to hear. But yeah, we'll wrap up here. Hope you enjoyed the episode. If you did as well, and if you didn't as well, please subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications, like the video, share with your friends, help support the channel. You keep up to date with all your Lost Records content. We do a lot of Lost Records content here. We do a lot of Don't Nod content. We do a lot of Deck 9 content, Square Enix. We do all of it. So do follow us on here. And also as well, the Lost Records Journal is available on all podcast services. So please do check us out on there. Go and rate us. Go and get your videos, etc. You keep up to date with things as well. They come instantly live as soon as we post on YouTube. So do check them out. And as well, we obviously host StrangeCast. So if you are just listening to the Lost Records Journal, we host StrangeCast, which is focusing on everything like Deck 9, Square Enix, Life is Strange, Don't Nod. You can check us out there. We do a lot more meatier conversations, among many other things, on news topics, etc. So do go and check that out. So yeah, I think we'll wrap up here. Adam, if anything, I lost my trail of thought there, but yeah, we'll wrap up here. Stay tuned. StrangeCast will be back later this month as well. That'll be another episode. That'll be where Life is Strange season is in full swing for some of those people who spent money early on the release. We won't be, unfortunately. But yeah, we will be continuing on because there's a lot of news to talk about. But yeah, stay tuned. And then obviously Lost Records Journal will be back at the end of the month. I think we'll be back on actually, hang on a minute. It's going to come back on next week, 16th or so-ish. No, 23rd. It's going to come out the week, I think, before Halloween or so-ish. So that's great. But yeah, stay tuned. We'll be back soon. Until next time, guys. Take care. Bye.
See you.